Attending events and shows can be chaos, whether you're meeting other attendees, exhibitors, or social media influencers. They all seem to give it the same sort of things, and it's hard to set a memorable first impression. I wanted to make something that was a little bit different, something memorable. Exactly. To break the same old pattern, I made this, a 3D printed NFC business card. It's not just useful, it's memorable. And that's the secret sauce. To give you some ideas, let me show you how I made mine, and hopefully it'll point you in the right direction for you getting your own unique NFC business card that people will remember. So there's a couple of different routes that you can take to get your NFC business card. The first of which is to buy an off-the-shelf card from a shopping site that effectively all you need to do is program. You have some limited customization options for these cards, or alternatively, you could get the NFC stickers. These stickers can be placed pretty much anywhere, which is really versatile and a very good option for our particular application. For my card, I decided I was going to embed the sticker inside the 3D print. This means that it's really robust, it won't get damaged, and it doesn't affect the overall look of the card. 3D printing my own card means that I have full customization options over what I make. I can make it as simple or as complex as I like. I decided I was going to make a keyring card. That way somebody could have it with them all the time, increasing the versatility of the card, meaning if they struck up a conversation with somebody about our interaction, they could use that card in that conversation as the card was close to hand. Having a multicolored 3D printer hasn't been on my hit list because the vast majority of things that I print are functional. So designing my card, I had to consider I only had a single color, single extruder, nozzled printer. As I was promoting my YouTube channel at this show, I decided I was going to make a YouTube logoed card with my initials for my channel on the back side. The top side of the card can be accommodated by supergluing the play button into the top of the logo. But the bottom side, where my initials for my channel are going to be, I didn't want to particularly glue them in because it means multiple parts, and when you're trying to do a batch run, that's going to be somewhat problematic. So I took a little bit of a creative approach in trying to create a multicolor print with only a single nozzle. It's a little bit difficult to me to explain, so let me show you in Fusion 360 and Prusa Slicer how I did it. So for my design, I decided that I was going to promote my YouTube channel and link the design to that. So what perfect way to promote a YouTube channel than to use the YouTube play button logo. And I decided that I was going to put my channel initials in the one side, the play button on the other side. So here I have my completed design, and you can see that down in the timeline below. I'm going to step through the design process and try and talk through some of the design choices that I made. So the first thing I did was to find an SVG file of the YouTube logo, and you can do a Google search for that and bring that into Fusion 360. So after importing the SVG, I scaled it and I placed it approximately in the center of the drawing, marked by this center point here. In addition to that, I added a center constrained square. I wanted to make sure that this thing wasn't too big. So I designed the box to have a 40 by 40 millimeter parameter, and that gave me a sense of how big the card was going to be at the end. The next thing I did was to add a 4mm hole, and this was for the keyring itself. I roughly placed this in the top left corner, giving me the option to move it around as the design progressed. And that's the beauty of Fusion 360's parametric modeling. If you're further down the timeline and you want to make a change, you can go back in the timeline, make a change and come back and all of the changes take effect. Next up, I added this circle, and this circle represents the NFC sticker. I made the circle 1 millimeter bigger than the NFC sticker that I bought, so make sure to check your dimensions and allow for tolerances. And the reason I gave it 1 millimeter is because when we put the NFC tag into the 3D print, I wanted there to be some tolerance that if I didn't get it perfectly centered, it wouldn't cause too much of an issue. Once we finished the outline sketch of the design, I extruded the main shape. And this just gives me the slab of the card that we're going to be working with. Next up, I extruded the play button into this slab, and then I added an offset plane. And this offset construction plane is essentially where we're going to put the tag itself inside the card. And I placed that 1.2 millimeters off the face of the bottom face of the card itself. I'm going to be printing this card at 0.36 millimeter layer heights. So I created a 0.36 millimeter pocket for the NFC tag to fit inside. If I use a sectional analysis, you can see the pocket here, and that's where we're going to insert the tag. So next up, I created the play button sketch. And this is to create the 3D model that we're going to use to print in a different color. And we're going to repeat this process to create this color separation that we need. All I did was to create a 0.5 millimeter offset to create the sketch from within there so that when we print it, it fits inside nice and easily. Now I wanted to create a 3D effect, so I didn't extrude the arrow all the way to the top. I wanted it inset, just to give it a little bit of depth, a little bit of something else. Next up, I created the text for the channel initials that are gonna go in the bottom face of the card. And essentially I just used the text tool, selected the appropriate font, and placed that on the card where I wanted it. So I extruded it 2 layer heights in order to create a decent color separation, a single layer. Depending on the filament that you use, you may not get a good contrast between the light color of the white and the darker color of the red. It might bleed through from behind. So I thought 2 layers on the white color would give it that extra vibrancy that I was looking for. Then I repeated the process to create the text, but this time I didn't change any of the parameters. It was a straight extrude, and I created additional bodies. Next up, I created a sketch where I created a 4 millimeter square. And that 4 millimeter square exists outside of the perimeter of the print. And this is going to be important for slicing. A circular pattern was used then to replicate the square so that we have 1 square in each of the corners outside of the bounds of the card itself. And this was extruded to a single layer height. Now we've got the design done, it's time to fire up the printer. Ziggy, turn print farm on.
Okay.
Connect it to Octoprint and get slicing the files. Printing the arrow for the play button is pretty straightforward, as it's just a single STL model. The main body of the card, however, because it's 2 colors, we're going to have to do some operations in order to get this to print as a single object. The first thing we need to do is import both the files at the same time. This will mean that these files will exist in the same origin point in the slicer. As we model the 4 squares on the outside of the model, we can use these as registration marks for both of the models so that they align perfectly. On my printers, I use a BL Touch probe, which homes in the center of the bed. We need to move the models away from this center point, so when the first part of the print is complete and we need to move on to the next part, when that homes, it doesn't home on top of the model already on the bed, because that would cause the print to fail. Printing the text first is needed so that when we fill the body around it with the rest of the card, it actually becomes part of the model. I want to give a big shout out to 3dprima.co.uk who supplied a reel of Copymaster filament to try for this project. If you want to take a look at 3D Prema's offerings, click the link in the description below. Now we have the challenge of printing the body around the text that we've already printed. Now remember, this is 2 layers height, so we need to make some adjustments to the slicer to make sure we just don't tear that straight off the bed. This can be easily done by enabling Z-hop. Z-hop essentially is where the printer will lift the nozzle a determined height when we do movement changes. So whether that's changing layer height or travel moves, it will move to the set height and then drop back down and continue printing. Here in Prusa Slicer, I've set the Z-hop to be 1 millimeter and for it to start at the 0 layer height to 0.63 millimeters. Next, we need to get the printer to pause while we put the tag into the print. And to do that, I use the color change operation in Prusa Slicer. What that does is it causes the printer to go over to its home position, pulls the filament back, and then when you're ready, it'll feed the new filament in and continue printing. We leverage this operation to give us the time to put the tag into the print and then resume the print. So once the print is complete, all I've got to do is to glue in the play arrow and attach it to the keyring. That's all the physical bits done. Now we need to program it. I'm an Android user and I'm going to be using a free tool called NFC Tools. If you're using a different phone operating system, you'll need to find a tool that will do similar functions. The first thing we need to do is decide what link we're going to get the tag to actually go to once we program it. And then it's a case of navigating to the right section of the application, adding a record, choosing the custom URL link, and then typing in the URL we want the tag to go to. Then we just choose write. The application will prompt us to read the card and let us know once the card is successful. This can be any link that you choose, whether that's a link tree, whether that's your YouTube or other social media platform. Once you've finished, you may want to consider locking the tag so that this cannot be changed in the future. Make sure you're happy with the card's behavior before locking it because this cannot be undone. So there you have it. Whether you've taken an off-the-shelf NFC business card and programmed it to your links, or you created your own personal 3D printed, one-of-a-kind business card, you'll be sure to make an impact at the next show or convention that you attend. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you very much. You are a super fan. Why not consider hitting that like and subscribe button down below? If you would like to support the channel even further, why not consider becoming a member? There are many different levels of membership, each giving you a different tier of perks which give back to you, the community. In my next video, I'll be going over a mistake that I made and hopefully remedying it. Did you spot it? And YouTube wants you to watch one of these videos just here. So you should do that. Chaos. Whether you're meeting other attendees, zub 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 zub, zippity zip zab zop. Woo! 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 Super green!